Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a name synonymous with American political legacy, now finds himself in uncharted territory. He's been tapped by former President Donald Trump to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. It's a powerful position, one that oversees the health of a nation. But Kennedy's nomination hasn't been met with universal applause. Far from it. The reason? Let's just say his financial portfolio is raising some serious eyebrows. This isn't just about Kennedy's wealth. It's about where that wealth comes from and how it might influence his decisions if he's confirmed as the head of HHS. See, Kennedy has some financial ties that are making people, shall we say, a tad uncomfortable. Ties that link him to a certain law firm with a bone to pick with a certain pharmaceutical giant. And when you're talking about the health of millions, well, those ties start to look less like threads and more like steel cables. So, let's talk about this law firm, shall we? It's called Wisner Baum, and they specialize in personal injury cases. Think big bad corporations taking advantage of the little guy. Now, Kennedy has a consulting arrangement with Wisner Baum. Perfectly legal, of course, but here's the catch. Kennedy gets a cut of any settlement money from cases he refers to them, a tidy 10% to be exact. And since 2022, those referral fees have added up to a cool $2.5 million. Not a bad side hustle for someone who might soon be running the Department of Health. But wait, there's more. It turns out Wisner Baum is currently suing Merck, one of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies. The lawsuit centers around Gardasil, Merck's vaccine for the human papillomavirus. Wisner Baum alleges that Gardasil is unsafe and has caused serious harm. And guess who stands to gain financially if they win? You got it, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, let's be clear, vaccines are a hot-button issue these days. There's a lot of misinformation floating around and it's important to rely on scientific evidence. But that's a topic for another time. The point here is that Kennedy has a financial interest in seeing Merck lose this lawsuit. If Wisner Baum wins big, so does he. And that raises a very troubling question. Can Kennedy be impartial when it comes to Merck and other pharmaceutical companies if he's confirmed as HHS Secretary? Remember, the HHS Secretary has enormous power. They can influence drug approvals, vaccine policy, and federal enforcement actions against drug companies, decisions that directly impact companies like Merck. So it's not hard to see why people are worried about a potential conflict of interest. It's like asking a fox to guard the hen house, and the hens are starting to feel a bit peckish. Legal experts and ethics watchdogs are sounding the alarm. They argue that Kennedy's financial stake in litigation against pharmaceutical companies is a major red flag. They point out that even the appearance of a conflict of interest can be damaging. It erodes public trust and raises questions about whether decisions are being made in the best interest of the American people or to line someone's pockets. It's a legitimate concern. Can Kennedy separate his personal financial interests from his duty to the public if he's confirmed as HHS Secretary? Can he be trusted to make unbiased decisions about vaccines and pharmaceuticals when he stands to gain financially from lawsuits against those very companies? These are questions that deserve answers. After all, we're talking about the health of a nation, not some Wall Street casino. Section 5, Kennedy's promises, damage control, or genuine effort. Now, in fairness to Kennedy, he has pledged to address these concerns. He's said that if he's confirmed, he'll resign from his consulting arrangement with Wisner Baum. He's also promised to divest rights to payments in cases involving the U.S. government or where the U.S. has a direct interest. Those rights would be transferred to a non-dependent adult family member. A nice gesture, but is it enough? Critics argue that Kennedy's pledges don't go far enough. They point out that he's still set to profit from lawsuits against pharmaceutical companies, even if he's not directly involved. And they question whether transferring those rights to a family member truly addresses the underlying conflict of interest. It's like trying to hide a giant elephant behind a potted plant. It might fool some people, but most of us can still see the elephant in the room. Section 6. Warren and Crapo dig in. A grilling on Capitol Hill. Kennedy's financial ties didn't go unnoticed during his confirmation hearing. Senators Elizabeth Warren and Mike Crapo, both members of the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor and Pensions, grilled him on the issue. Warren, known for her tough questioning, pressed Kennedy to forego all payments from litigation against drug makers. But Kennedy stopped short of making that commitment. He argued that he'd complied with all ethics rules and that his financial interests wouldn't influence his decisions. Crapo, the ranking Republican on the committee, also raised concerns about Kennedy's ties to Wisner Baum. He questioned whether Kennedy could be trusted to oversee a department that regulates the pharmaceutical industry while simultaneously benefiting from lawsuits against those companies. It was a tense exchange, with Kennedy on the defensive. He insisted that he was committed to serving the public interest and that his financial holdings wouldn't color his judgment. But the questions lingered in the air like the smell of burnt popcorn. Section 7. Merck claps back, "We will fight this in court." Meanwhile, Merck isn't taking the allegations against Gardasil lying down. They've come out swinging, maintaining that the lawsuits are without merit and that they're prepared to defend their product in court. They point to the safety record of Gardasil, which has been administered to millions of people worldwide. They argue that the vaccine is safe and effective, and that the lawsuits are based on unfounded fears and misinformation. It's a classic David versus Goliath battle, with Wisner Baum and RFK Jr. cast as the underdog taking on a pharmaceutical giant. But in this case, David has a potential ace up his sleeve, the man who might soon be in charge of regulating Goliath. It's a tangled web, and it's unclear how it will all play out. Section 8. The public deserves answers. Transparency is paramount. One thing's for sure. Transparency is crucial in situations like this. The American people deserve to know whether the person in charge of their health is making decisions based on science and the public good, or on personal financial gain. They deserve to have confidence that their government is working for them, not for the highest bidder. The debate over RFK Jr. YS financial ties is a stark reminder that the line between public service and private interest can be blurry. It's a reminder that power, especially when it comes to our health, shouldn't be for sale. Section 9. The future of HHS, a crossroads of health and politics. As the Senate considers RFK Jr.'s nomination, the future of the Department of Health and Human Services hangs in the balance. Will he be confirmed, or will the concerns about his financial ties prove insurmountable? Only time will tell. But one thing's for certain. The outcome of this nomination will have far-reaching consequences for the health and well-being of the American people.